Today, I want to talk about art anxiety and how you can reduce that when you're painting. And one way is to become more strategic. So let's get started. All right, so this was part one. I did a video of this a couple of days ago and stopped there. I like the darks that I put in, and now I can't, of course, leave the whites of the paper completely white. That's way too much white. It would look unfinished. But I do want to keep things bright and light if I can. And there I'm using the Notanizer, which is an app you can use to look at darks, mediums, and lights. That's just going to clue me in about what I want to do. Again, using that strategically, and I may, if you want me to, I'll make a video about how to use that particular app, which I find really helpful. Now what I did was I thought to myself, I need to make some test pieces because I'm using a new color here. It's called Quinacridone Sienna, and it's from Daniel Smith. So that's what that orangey looking thing is, called Quinacridone Sienna. It's brighter than a burnt sienna. And then I use cerulean blue and Naples yellow. So I'm going to put those on the paper as my red, my yellow, and my blue. And then I'm going to mix up the secondary colors to see what might appear. So there's the Naples yellow and the Quinacridone Sienna mixed together makes a pretty nice orange. I like things so far. Now I end up with a green between the Naples yellow and the cerulean blue, and finally a violet between the Quinacridone Sienna and the cerulean blue. I like that. I could see doing a complete painting with that, using those colors. They're kind of somber, and so I'm not sure that's going to apply to this painting yet. That's part of it, but I need to see what it looks like when I apply a triad and see what it will look like when it dries. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm thinking, oh, okay, that could make a pretty nice shadow shape. Now I'm not convinced, so I tried again, and this time I'm using Quinacridone Sienna again, and a Prussian blue as my blue, and Naples yellow. And there's the Naples yellow, there's the Prussian blue, and here comes the Quinacridone Sienna. Now I'm going to mix the colors that would appear between them on the color wheel. Again, a nice orange, same as the one above. A nice green, definitely a brighter green, more vivid green. I like that. And let's see what happens with the violet. There we go. I can hardly see it. That's pretty darn dark. So just comparing the two of them, I can see that the top one is a little bit duller and the bottom one is brighter. Now I'm going to do a bit of Triad Experimentation to see what happens when I put them down in a patch, which I don't rub. The idea of the Triad is to let those colors come together, but and of course what's going to happen when they meet and mingle is you're going to have some of those secondary colors showing up in your mix. And I thought that was probably going to be what I was going to choose. Now I'm checking to see with the value finder how light or dark these patches are. And what was clear was that one patch was definitely darker than the other. And I thought, okay, again, this is strategically. Strategically, I'm saying to myself, how does that look? What I did was I cut the piece of paper that I was working on because I want to see how does it look next to everything else. That was the. So now I'm checking the value and I can see that it's light, which is what I wanted. If you remember, the original plan was, of course, I couldn't leave it the white all white, but I need to take care of it. And so I'm trying to find three colors that will give me a neutral looking whitish table. And this one, when I hold this one up, it's too dark. And these are just the test strips that I did before. And I'm going to put them down again and then walk away from the easel just to make sure that things hold up when you walk far away too. And I pretty quickly decided that this was the triad that I wanted to use. So the reason that I titled this video Art Anxiety is because you can if you get stuck on things having to be a certain way, you really can have anxiety because a painting is kind of like going down a road or driving down a road you don't know. And although you have a clear idea of what you want to do, somewhere along the way you're going to have to make decisions. Everything goes along really well at first. It isn't until later, like about this way, I'm about halfway through this painting, and this is when everything that I do has to be relative to everything else that came before. That's when the decisions get to be kind of hard. But there's no reason to have anxiety because you can do test patches off the paper, and you also, there's so much wiggle room. You know, if things hadn't gone the way I wanted them to, I always could wet down an area and then pat it dry with a paper towel. I mean, I know you can never get the whites of the paper back. That is very true, which is why I always say keep the whites of your paper white. But within that, there is much more wiggle room than people think there is in order to make adjustments. And that's really what this is about. It's about making adjustments all along the way. Just keep your mind open and concentrate on what your goals are. Now, this was another series of a triad and the colors in between. I decided not to go with the triad work. I had done enough triad work by now, and what I knew for sure was that the rest of the table needed to remain light. And so I'm using a lemon yellow in there, which is a particularly light color. There it is, pretty strong right there, because I wanted some brightness. So this is where I thought I was done, but as you know, usually at the end of a painting there are some finishing touches to do, which I did in a separate video, but for some reason it didn't load up. And you'll see the finishing touches, and they tend to be just sort of color spots of value. There's some, I heightened the reds in the front a little bit, I put in some cerulean blue in a few places, just final adjustments, no big deal. But that will show you how, if you're having art anxiety, it really is just problem solving. You take a deep breath and just don't give up. So remember to keep the whites of your paper white, your paints wet, mass for value, mix for color, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.